Alright, introduction to Incident Command System. Federal Regulation Hazmat Response Mandate. The manage the incident management of the directive of the regulation standard is being somewhat unfamiliar with the may respond with the true with the for true. This is true for two reasons. The first one recently specified, until recently it specified the management system generally would have been a fire service. Second, hazmat scene considerations related concept that quite different from the most routine emergency response situations. So let us explore with the similar differences. With the implementation national incident management system, there should be standard incident command throughout the country. This course will focus for the national incident management during the response hazmat incident. Maintain national incident management system include command management, prepared, source management, communication, information technology, support technologies, ongoing maintenance. History and Incident Command System. Early 1977 in California, experienced with several devastating wildfires with the overall cost loss associated with the first fire, with these fires totaled $18 million per day. The multi-jurisdictional disaster with the impeded with the development of the improved interagency incident management system known as the Incident Command System. Incident Command System is the only one of the beneficial results of the federal funding of the project with the fire scope that was conveyed after the fires. It was charter to examine the various aspects of the concern of the interagency response incident fire scope that derive of the names of the following words: fire source of the California organized potential emergency. Fire scope incident command primarily command with a control system delineating jobs, organizational structure for the purpose of managing the day-to-day operation of all types of the emergency incident. With original developed for the wildland incident that was found with the system could be easily the day-to-day fire with the rescue operation flexible enough to manage the cash faster given incident involved with thousands of emergency response personnel and management personnel. National Incident Management and another system incident command was developed with the wildland community in order to provide common system wildfire protection agency, local, state, and federal levels. The National Incident Management Organization included the following agencies: Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Indian Affairs, U.S. Fire, Fish, Wildlife Services, U.S. Forest Services, representative of the State Forest for the National Park Services. The National Incident Management System consists of five major subsystems that collectively provide a total system approach with risk management. One, the Incident Command System included the operating requirements of 8 interactive components of the procedure organizing operating on-scene management structure. 2, the training of the standard and support of the effective operation National Incident Management System. 3, qualification certification system provides personal and crew with the national standard training with the experience with the physical requirement of the filling and specific position incident command system as the publication management include the development, publication, distribution, national incident management system materials. Supporting technology for the ortho map, the infrared photograph, the inter multi-agency coordination system of the national incident management operation. Since the time the incident command system developed, several changes with the experience with the fire service to understand the application result of the inconsistency system developed as well as the other hybrids further to this is common approach to the incident command system, single incident management system. It's critical and effective compound command and control major incidents. On these incidents, a single department may interface with the other agencies, local, state, and federal law in order to reduce the inherent confusion with associated with the larger scale incident, including the common command system as must. Recognizing the challenges occurring with the fire service, applying with the common incident with the command with the National Fire Service Incident Management System consortium occurred with the 1990 in order to with the approach of the developing single command system. The consortium consists of the many individual fire service, the leader of the representative of the most major fire service organization, representative of the federal agency, include fire scope. One of the significant outcomes of the work done with the consortium with the identification of the need to develop the operational protocols incident command so the fire and rescue personnel could apply with the incident command in one system. As a result of the incident management consortium completed with the fire document in 1993 model procedure for the guideline structural fighting fire scope adopted for the principle of application model fire scope command system based the premise of the organizational structure fighting fire scope and incident command system now enhanced with the operational protocol for the all national fire and personal rescue applied with the incident command effective regardless of the area of the country at one assigned. The National Fire Academy has adapted the fire scope incident command in 1980 incorporated the material in the training circular. Following terrorist attacks of 2001, President Bush issued his HSPD 5 with, among other things, the development implementation and single incident command system using by all agencies, Department of Homeland Security implemented the process mandated all agencies of the National Incident Management System risk losing federal assistance September 2005. Incident command and hazardous material incident. The hazard incident management is no restriction with regard without whatever boundaries is assigned with the geographic location emergency also require involvement at several levels of the government, local incident with more instances require response at the assistant level to several jurisdiction agencies. The state response required the incident affects the state land or is beyond the capability of local response agencies. Federal agency will respond when the incident occurs federal land, and if needed long-term cleanup exists. The initial industrial responders may include seeing the specialized resources that are needed when the potential responsible private with the industry. Both Occupational Safety, Health, and Administration, OSHA 29 Code for Regulations, Part 190, 120, Environmental Protection Agency, Title 40 CFR, Part 311, Regulations state. Senior emergency response official responding to a chemical emergency shall have the individual charge of the site-specific incident command. Essentially, this means all hazmat emergency responders must operate using an incident command system. Because hazmat incidents is most incidents in dynamic frequent shifts, and the plan with the anticipated by the incident command effective efficiency system that is capable of managing even the most complex situation, great deal of flexibility, control, and reliability. Large-scale resource management. Large-scale incidents require not only many response agencies, but also a large amount of the resource of the response agency. Have a certain amount of the resource that will bring them, and is adding in the scope of the incident. Hazmat release may not stay jurisdictional boundaries. Air and water releases may multi-great distance in a short period of time. Large-scale incidents require multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional response. No single agency can handle all of the resources needed. Large-scale hazmat incidents, unified command, 3-level incident command system, and available to implementation hazmat incident depending on the incident scale. Single command, unified command, emergency operations center, incident command, single versus unified. Single command system, only one agency has legal responsibility. Single command is established only with the incident involved with primarily one agency. With the incident occur with a single jurisdiction, the agency must have predetermined incident command as designated with the emergency response plan. Incident command is incident with the responsible developing all strategic goals. Hazmat incident, mass casualty incident, natural disasters, wildland fires, among others, may involve a number of jurisdiction agencies that have a legal need to be involved directly. In the decision-making process, each of the responsible agencies will establish command posts and of its own, separated distinct from the others. Chaos would ensue. In this instance, for the critical, there would be a unified command. The concept of the unified command simply means that all agency functional responsibility, multi-agent, multi-jurisdictional incident contribute to the process. They all help determine strategy, determine overall incident objective of the plan jointly with the tactical objective of the maximum all assigned resources, various cues of the unified command. More than one agency responsible for decision making in a single jurisdiction, passenger airline crash with the national force, local fire, local medical, forest fire, federal forestry, and the National Transportation Safety Board are involved. More than one jurisdiction involved. The major flood hurricane affects many counties. The extent of the incident, inland waterway entirely with the boundary single jurisdiction could involve the Department of Fish and Game and the U.S. Coast Guard. All agencies responsible to manage some part of the incident, contributed with the command process together to determine overall incident objective, determine strategy of the plan, tactics jointly with the collaboration, ensure the maximum use of the assigned resource of the command. Instruction includes one key official with each of the responsible jurisdiction agency. Also may have involved with the representative of the department of only single jurisdiction involved. Unified command structure should consist of the key official with each of the jurisdiction in the multi-jurisdictional situation. Several functional departments of the single political jurisdiction. As the option, unified command structure could include landowners and individual agency with the functional expertise of the capabilities. The incident command may determine the local and state law. For example, the California law state with the law enforcement agency representing the incident command has an incident on highways where there is no law determining who's in charge. Agencies should plan ahead to determine when agencies take lead for each risk of the community faces. To function well, the system needs the common objective strategy, major multi-jurisdictional, multi-agency incident with the strategic tactics is divided developing the incident action plan under the unified combined command structure in the incident command system. Implementation of the incident action plan occurs under the direction of a single individual operations section chief. Operational section chief normally will form from the agency with the greatest jurisdictional involvement. The agencies have jurisdictional functional responsibility. Incident must agree upon a designated operations section chief. Difference between single and unified. Single command structure and the single incident command solely responsible management of the incident. Single command structure, the implementation strategy, the tactics, achieve the operational control responsibility of one person. Official operations section chief. In unified command structure, individuals designated involved with jurisdictional departments jointly determine objective and strategy of the priority determination which jurisdiction agency office section chief representative must be made with the mutual agreement of the unified command. Emergency Operations Center. For the Emergency Operation Incident Command System interface with the issue appear with another proportion student man with the Emergency Operations Center. Activation required for the long-term operation that is anticipated with the incident of the variable complex with the nature of disaster, catastrophic situation development. Emergency Operations Center's activation serves to relieve the incident command some of the administrative duty of the not command with the responsibility for the incident. Large-scale operations involving threats of the entire community beyond may be required with the appearance of the federal on-scene coordinator. The coordinator will be from the United States Coast Guard and some of the involved navigable waters. The EPA with the instance in line. The U.S. Coast Guard EPA may operate with each of the other jurisdictions necessary. Coordinator's role is to make and reach for the federal government is available to the Incident Command. Roles and responsibility. Respond with the incident that has specific roles and responsibility designated by statute. The emergency response plan with the first service may provide with among the other function first personnel. Citizens rescue. The response team with the perform incident control measure of law enforcement may be the responsible evacuation site with the crowd control investigation of the incident and may emergency medical services provide medical care for the injured, exposed person, transportation, medical treatment, the facility, the medical monitoring, incident response personnel, other agencies, emergency management, health, etc. may be responsible for cleanup activities, monitoring of the incident, depending on the nature of the incident of the agency, such as fish game enforcement, habit division provide habitat information supervision, public works, which provides heavy equipment support and some supplies such as sand and dirt may become involved. Incident Command System Management Level. The Incident Command System organizational structure developed in modular fashion of the top down. Any of the incident of the special Incident Command System organizational structure has been incident based on the incident needs. Incident Command safety officers are also appointed if the other position responsible or any of the Incident Command assumed those due for the command of the general staff position are discussed below. Note that the material in the SM system management is not intended to complete the presentation of the system but only refresh. Further training of the Incident Command System may be required. General Staff. The Incident Command Management level of the three functional areas of the General Staff. This includes the Incident Command Operational Section, Planning Section, Logistics Section, Financing and Administration Section. The person appointed to the position of the Chief of each of these sections have very specific duties. The Incident Command chooses not only to fill any of these positions. Incident Command assumes those duties. Incident Commander of the Incident Commander, overall manager of the incident scene Incident Commander, responsible for developing the strategic goal for the incident of the task accomplished through the development and the implementation of individual action plan, known as the plan of action. Ocean regulations mandated the Incident Command position to be filled in Title 29 CFR number 1910-120Q of the National Highway Protection Association 472. Certain competence representative of the hazardous material weapons of mass destruction incidents 512 would state the Incident Command will direct, coordinate all aspects of the hazmat incident under either regulation of the same of the Incident Command is and ultimately responsible for all action taken by all responders at the emergency scene. Functions of the command. There are very critical functions of the command. Assume the announce the command, establish effective operating position, rapidly evaluate situation, size up and initiate mission, maintain control communication process, used in priority, identify the incident objective, develop the incident action plan, assign resource consistent plans and standard operating procedures, develop effective incident command organization, provide strategies, tactics, review, evaluate, revise as needed the incident individual action plan, provide continuing transfer termination of the command, provide safety and personnel accountability. Incident Command responsible for all these functions as the command is transferred, so the responsibility of the function. First five functions must be addressed immediately from the initial assumption of the command. Operations Section Chief. The Operations Section Chief is responsible for managing, directing, coordinating all tactical operations in an incident. As part of his or her role, the Occupational Safety Operations Section Chief controls the Incident Command, Incident Action Plan, Operation Plan, tactical objective, the overall response of the Office Operations Section Chief. The also supervise staging area manager filling with the position Office Section Chief relieves the Incident Command with the burner and making the tactical determination assignment. Staffing operation. The operations section is responsible for direct management of all the incident of the tactical activity, tactical priority, safety of the personnel working in the operations section. Most common reason for the staffing operations will leave the span with the control problem from the incident command with the span with the control problem occur with the number of the branch of the division groups, coupled with the staff planning of the logistics section. Elements include the incident command ability of the manager effectively. Incident command then is able to focus the attention on overall management of the incident or incident, as well as of the interactive command and general staff. Complex incident in which the incident command need assistance to determine the strategic goals and the tactical objectives as well may require implementing operations. However, operations should be staffed only to improve the management of the incident. If it is not used to maintain manageable workload, effective span with the control incident command could end up with a span with control of 1 after operation implemented due to the incident command or modified slightly. Operation will be responsible for all operation source of the accomplished specific activity. Incident Command will be responsible for the development of the incident strategy, the communication of those strategy, the office section, operations section chief. Branch of the operations section may consist of the hazmat, medical, rescue, law enforcement, others, and even the branch of the organizational level responsible for performing operation major segment of the incident branch level, the report for the sectional level, the man of the division group level. Division organizational level and have the responsible function for the define of the geographical area of the divine provide coordination control of the operation within several units assigned with the perform function of the geographical area. Group designated given the multiple reach with the assignment of the function within the incident. The example with the hazmat group with the provide with the reach with the skilled personnel with the manager of the hazmat mitigation function at the incident. Even during large complex incidents with the incident command and point with the only operations section chief of this person should be selected with the agency having the greatest resource commitment and left with pre-planning dictate the selection of the specific agency. Progress report agency communication guidelines should include the communication if they gather, analyze information, plan, issue, or supervise operation. For example, the tactical level, the officer should communicate the following: the assignment complete with the additional resources required, the ability to complete the assignment, the specific information, the accountability report, operational location. It's imperative with the incident commander to understand what happened with the incident containment at once for the order of the given them the group division supervised with the branch directive chief. It is critical to understand the items listed above, the allowing incident commander to effectively understand what the point of the various operation has progressed. These through these reported incident commander can track the actions done with the complete with the need of the additional resource for any given assignment. The needed tactical change over the overcome the impossible tasks of other special factors such as safety requiring attention. Progress reports are essential for the incident management. They allow the effective decision making and the prioritizing commitment of the resource of the progress report to allow the effective of the refinement revision of the individual action plan. The effective of the progress report need to be timely and complete and concise. Progress report should be briefly detail location, type of the completed actions, those being undertaken. For example, the event group, the supervisor directed to be vertical and horizontal ventilation may be provided with the progress report as follows. Vertical ventilation will be completed in about 5 minutes. Horizontal ventilation and the fire flow is completed. Ventilation of the floor is about as begin. Progress reports will occur with a greater frequency of the earlier stages of an incident, typically every 5 to 15 minutes. A major part of the job, the complicated with the incident command of the officer chief, section chief must record the progress report with the subordinate personnel of the periodic basis with these reports that are not given them by the personnel. Some departments have the dispatch center with the announced time of the on location every 15 minutes with the incident command with the time track with the act with the mind jogging with the progress reports important. Ensure that the time tracking is done with emergency communication. The procedure is not overridden by these report of the catastrophic events using a large number of reach with the large incident command system organization. A critical for the all general staff to know the progress of the operation on a timely basis. Branch directors must query the subordinate group of the division supervisor frequently as to state their operation. This information must be forwarded to the operations section chief without forwarding the incident command. Without the progress report information, incident command as well as the operations section chief, planning section chief will find that his or her information process ability lessened. Often he should initiate the recommendation actions on the needed, as well as being untimely for the situation. Alright, your planning section chief. The planning section chief is responsible for collecting, evaluating, dispersing, using information about the incident available to reach over both the time of the incident as well as the hours of the day, with the head of the understanding of the current situation, create the base of the accurate of the prediction, develop an overall assessment of the incident course of the harm, the predictive incident management depends on the accurate assessment of the incident potential prediction of the likely result of the planning section. Perform several functions. If the incident is small, the planning section chief may perform then and all of the incident with large complex for the better of the assigning personnel to each component. Resource status or restat, the unit of the responsible for recording the staff of the resource of the command of the incident with the further of the unit elevates. Evaluates expect the need of additional resource for the effect of the resource that will have on the incident of the leader revive with the incident command post full future it needs. Situation status unit is responsible for analyzing situation of the progress of the recording, evaluating information about the staff of the incident, major questions if the units are covered, what has happened, what is happening now, what might happen. Documentation unit record of the project protects all documents relating to the incident. This incident report, communication log, injury reports, stat reports to the documentation critical to post-incident analysis of the technical specialists or personal special skills and knowledge that may support the incident operation. Example include chemists, building maintenance engineers, and industrial representatives. They are assigned anywhere where the incident command is needed. Demobilization response to developing plan. The demobilization resource of the committee of the incident with the existing with the implementation of the plan. Incidents requiring major resource commitment and efficient, safe, and cost-effective demobilization return resources to serve that depends on an accurate plan. Are your logistics section chief? The logistics section chief is responsible for the facility serve the materials for the incident. The incident grows inside of the complexity of the logistics. They increase the significance of the logistics section. Consider the two branches serve as support. Service branch provides communication medical food unit. The operational force of the communication unit maintains supervise the communication network. The medical unit provides the treatment, the emergency response. There's not civilian providing forth food to the personal major incident during survey and environmental conditions. Significant tasks assigned to the food option food unit. Supporting unit provide personnel equipment to supply the support incident operation, including the support branch of the air supply facility, ground support unit. The supply unit may be ongoing inventory control of the resource, includes self-contained breathing apparatus, cylinder, foam, concentration, hazmat protective clothing. Other supply facility unit provides a fixed facility with the incident. They include the incident base and invading sanitary sleeping facility. Ground support unit is responsible for fueling, maintaining, repairing vehicles, and repairing a traffic plan. Our responder rehabilitation incident command need to consider the responder rehabilitation rehab during the initial planning stage of the emergency response over the climatic environmental condition of the emergency setting, but it shall not be with the sole of the jurisdiction established responder rehab and activity incident of the large side with long duration labor intensive the will to deplete with the energy and the strength of the personnel rapidly through the merit of the consideration of responder rehab. Critical factor of the preventing heat injury, the maintenance of the water with electrolyte with the water replacement during the except for the period of the emergency incident during the heat and the stress of the members should consume at least 1 quart of water per hour. Rehydration solution should be 50-50 mixture of the water with the commercially prepared activity beverage and administered about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and alcohol contaminated carbonated beverages should be avoided to be interfered with the body's water conservation mechanism. Food is a necessity at the scene of the incident for the 3 hours or more with a cup of stew with a soap with the bowl of broth, and highly recommended because it digests much faster than sandwiches and fast food products. Fat and salty foods should be avoided. Hazmat incidents may call with a separate respond with a rehab and warm zone adjacent to recontamination unit. When it's likely that these personnel re-enter the hot zone, personnel who have become contaminated will need to go through the decontamination prior to going to the rehabilitation area. This method would facilitate the hazmat operation by reducing lead time, turnaround time, while the other known spec the incident command system position of these operations. And it could be designated with a hazmat rehab with the unit leader report with a hazmat group, the supervisor, 2 air bottle rule with a 45 minutes of the work time recommended acceptable level prior to mandatory rehabilitation. Members should rehydrate during exchange of the self-controlled breathing apparatus. Cylinders fires having worked for more than 45 minutes total. A full 30-minute rated bottle should immediately go to the responder rehab. For rest and evaluation, rest should not be less than 10 minutes and may extend an hour as determined by the responder rehab manager. Crews released from the responder rehab should be available to staging to ensure fatigued members are not required to return to duty before they are rest evaluated released by responder rehab manager. Members in rehabilitation area should maintain a high level of hydration. Members should not move the hot environmental directly into the air-conditioned area to cover the body with a cooling system can shut down and then respond with external cooling. Most highly trained and qualified emergency management services personnel to scene. Minimum basic life support level should be provided with the emergency management services. They need to measure the member's heart rate with 30 seconds as early as possible within the rest period. Then the member's heart rate exceeding 110 beats per minute and an oral temperature should be taken. If the member's temperature exceeds 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the person should not be permitted to wear protective equipment. If it is below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the heart rate remains at 110 beats per minute. Rehabilitation time should be increased. All medical evaluations should be recorded with the stamp forms along with the member's name and the compliance. The responder rehab manager design should sign time and date and form. Members assigned responder rehab should enter and exit the crew with the crew designation member of the crew member. The times of the entry of the responder rehab area documented with a company check-in and out sheet. Crew should not leave the responder rehab area until authorized by the responder rehab manager. Alright, Finance Administration Section Chief. The finance is responsible for tracking all the incident costs, evaluating financial consideration, providing financial documentation for answer for the functional units of the Finance Administration, their cost, time, procurement, compensation, claim units. Primary function cost unit, the tracking cost and analyzing cost data, making cost estimate, the recommending cost, saving the measures, the primary function of the time unit, and the time and keeping record of the personnel working in the incident operation required the procurement of goods and services from the vendors, procurement unit, manages this function, the function of the compensation claims unit, and involved with the record keeping financial concern resulting from injury facilities in the incident. Person in charge of this section also manages legal risk for the incident. Command staff of the incident command system, especially large complex incidents for the incident command, must consider functions of safety liaison information staffing. These functions begin with the emergency response plan that requires it. Demands these functions beginning with the interfere with the performance of the incident command duties. Alright, safety officers report directly into command mandate with the OSHA for the development of the, as often amount of the assess the safety have the other unsafely condition developed measure for the ensure the rapid responder safely, then suggest the measure for the incident command with the National Fire Protection Association 1521 standing for fire department safety officer for the provide the training of the safety officer. The safety officer have the authority to bypass the training with the command correct unsafe conditions immediately, but should inform the incident command with the training of the safety officer that must have the working knowledge of all hazmat operational approaches options in order to determine their safety. If incident safety officer either does not possess the sufficient knowledge of the expertise faced with the large complexity of the incident, the officer may appoint the assistant safety officer. Hazardous material. This person must be competent in the area of safety factors concerned during the hazmat response. Safety officer hazmat incident must be knowledgeable in operation completed by the hazmat team. Your public information. Public information also report for the incident command. I'm responsible for working with the media with the incident command with the command due to the public information officer with the clearing point with the relief of the information, coordinate with the relief of the incident command, coordinates reduce the risk of the receiving and disseminating conflicting information with the several of the public information officer. Also keep the incident response personnel informed progress operation, effective method of the periodic posting of the general information during long-term operation. Liaison officer appointed by the contact agency against agencies assisting with the operation. The liaison officer also reported directly into command. One of the liaison officer roles coordinated the management of all assisted agencies so to avoid a duplication of the effort. This also each of the agencies do what it does best. Aggravate a large and complex incident with the liaison officer must have a specific location where their agency report. Some of the agency personnel who may report with the liaison officer include the Federal Office Operations Section Chief, Red Cross, other voluntary agencies, private contractors. Alright, span of control. Span of control refers to the number of the personnel who are reporting to any of the given individual. Optimum span control incident command system and is 5 with an acceptable spread to 2 to 7 in one situation that is not yet under control. No one operating under the incident command should have more than 5 personnel reporting back. Span of control ratios depend on the number of the factors. Training experience level of subordinates. Poorly trained, less experience with the personnel required more directive supervision, thereby lessening the number of subordinates one can manage effectively. Complexity of the incident. A hazmat incident may require more mental concentration, thereby leaving less time available to supervise personnel. Type of the incident, time frame, or with the incident, speed of the operation may influence the span of the control. Fast move of the incident may require with a tighter span of control with a fewer division groups in place. Slower moving operations such as the overhaul of the supervisor, less breadth of time decision making, therefore can manage more personnel to division groups. For span off the purpose of the following are not counted with the reporting supervisor, safety officer, liaison officer, public information officer, staging area manager, incident command system. These positions basically are assistant incident to the incident command, or in the case of staging, also operations section chief. Other commands and considerations.